Do you think you know how Amazon ads work? I have 5 myths that can cost you a fortune if you don't understand them. Hi, my name's Johnny Bradley. I'm an official Amazon ads educator here in the UK. Today, I'm going to bust wide open some misconceptions that sellers have about running ads on Amazon. All of these can save you a ton of money and obviously make you a lot more in the process. Going to start with a nice, easy one. Myth number 1, you don't need a big budget to succeed. A lot of sellers might think that you need to have massive budgets, you need to be spending hundreds of pounds or dollars per day to make any sort of dent on Amazon. If you look in the US or the UK or in Europe, you have these sellers that are doing ginormous numbers and you think, well, how am I ever going to be able to compete with them? They have so much more money and resources to run ads and I don't have those, so surely I'm not going to be able to compete. But the reality is that you can start with as little as £5, £10, dollars per day. And the point here is that you're gathering data, you're buying data from Amazon that you can then optimize and use for your own advantage. Even if you're not spending hundreds or thousands per day, if you're spending something, it's better than nothing. If you had £10 a day or dollars per day spent here, but it was well structured, organized, optimized, and targeted, it might outperform, this might sound crazy, it might outperform something that's doing $100 or pounds per day. It might be highly untargeted, so the targeting is too broad. You could be spending a ton here, but not getting sales. You could be spending a little here, but making money. So the amount that you spend isn't the most important factor. Amazon rewards relevancy. They do this organically and they do it with paid advertising. Relevancy is critical. For you, that means a highly targeted, relevant campaign can outperform something that's untargeted and broad. And in fact, more specific targeting right now at the moment in 2025 is definitely the best route to go, especially if you're launching a new product. If you're launching a new product, you've only got a handful of reviews, don't worry about the massive, big, broad keywords that everyone else is advertising on. Look for hyper-specific, targeted, intent-driven keywords or purchase intent-driven keywords, meaning that customers are searching to buy, not to browse, and focus on those ones first. Myth number 1, it's not how big your budget is, it's how you use it. Myth number 2, more clicks equals more sales. Reality is that clicks actually don't mean anything. Sales and conversion is the only thing that actually matters. The lack of conversions, of course, tell you something about those clicks, about what happened on that customer journey to cause them to bounce off of your listing. But ultimately, you want sales, you want conversions. Having tons of clicks and no sales obviously can be related to so many things, but the key areas to look at are very, very simple. 1, relevancy. We talked about that in myth 1. It's so important. 2, simple things like your pricing, your titles, and your reviews, the information that customers will see straight away. 3, you're going to be looking at your images because most customers look at images as well. And 4, everything else that is going to be customer facing. As a bonus tip there, number 6, you're going to look at your back end attributes. That's a little bit more advanced than these 5 little myths, but that is also super important. So remember, don't focus on clicks, focus on conversions. Why are people clicking and not converting? And why are people clicking and converting? If you can figure out both of those things, you can do less of the first and more of the second. The third one is the impression myth. Many sellers will believe an impression is when your ad is seen by a potential customer. The reality is that's not actually what it is. An impression is how many times your ad was delivered to the search results or to the placement where it's relevant. Meaning if your ad showed at the bottom of the page, but the customer never scrolled to the bottom, so they never physically saw it, it still counts as an impression, but the customer never saw it. For this reason, most of the time, it's not a good metric to judge success on. Instead, you want to look at something called viewable impressions, which is kind of what it says on the tin. It's when one of those impressions is viewed. The caveat to that is that a view counts as at least 50% of the pixels seen for at least 1 second or 2 seconds on video. So it doesn't mean that they've seen it for long, but it did show somewhere on the page. A great way to think of this is if you go onto a product page, you scroll down on desktop, and sometimes you can scroll over to see the carousel of sponsored ads. If you're right at the end, but you can only see half of your image, that will still count as a viewable impression as long as it's over 50% of the pixels. So when you're looking at your click-through rate, don't worry about impressions, look at viewable impressions. The reason why this can be so important is if you want to be seen top of search and you have a placement adjustment to be seen top of search, but you're not actually getting top of search, the ad reports might show that you have a ton of impressions, but if you look at viewable impressions, it might be very low, in which case you might need to adjust those bids so that you get that top of search placement. Equally, if you've got a ton of impressions but hardly any clicks, it doesn't mean that your ad isn't working. It could just be that those impressions were below the fold or a customer never saw them. Again, look for viewable impressions where relevant. Myth number 4 is that a higher bid always wins. Sellers will assume that Amazon ads work like an auction, where the highest bid always gets the placement. And whilst it may have worked like that in the past, things have changed. Of course, bidding is important, but Amazon's ad platform also relies on relevancy. If your product is more relevant than potentially someone with a less relevant product, but a higher bid, you may still be shown up first. Amazon does consider other metrics that aren't just your bid, like the conversion rate for that particular keyword, or your attributes, or your reviews, or your title. Anything that says to Amazon, this product is more relevant than this one, therefore if we show this one first, product A first, the customer's more likely to buy it. In which case, let's put it up to the top. So again, focus on relevancy. Make sure that you're only targeting the keywords that are relevant. Make sure your listing is set up to be relevant. That's anything that's customer facing, but also behind the scenes on your backend attributes. So remember, the best bid you can put is actually the most relevant one. Myth number 5 is once your ads work, they're done. Many sellers think that once they have a successful campaign, they kind of go, well, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to rock the boat. We're just going to leave it as it is. The reality is that Amazon is changing all the time. They're always testing new things, and not just Amazon are testing things, but your competitors are testing as well. And of course, customers change as well. Everything changes. Winning today doesn't mean profitable forever. This is normally how it shows itself. You'll have a campaign that's been killing it for weeks, if not months. And slowly you start to see a decline in profitability. And you're okay with it for the meanwhile. You think maybe it's just a blip, and maybe you don't even notice for a while. But it gets to a certain point in the year and you look back and go, that was converting so much better 3 months ago, or the bid was way cheaper 3 months ago. It's not working. The ad doesn't work anymore. The keyword doesn't work anymore. You need to stop thinking it did, therefore it should, and start thinking about why. Why is it getting less profitable? Why are you getting less viewable impressions? You may have over-optimized that campaign. You may not have the best bid and placement adjustments. You may have changed things on your listing, like your images, your title, or your attributes, and then it might seem less relevant to Amazon or to customers. If you know it's something that's worked in the past, don't just write it off and go, well, that doesn't work anymore. Figure out why it's not working anymore and try to resolve it if you can. Often it might just be a case that your competitors have got a better price than you and they're always running deals, therefore customers will choose them instead. Any ad campaign always will need optimization. And remember, it's not always about optimizing the keyword, it's about optimizing your product listings as well. Which of these 5 myths surprised you the most? Let me know down in the comments. In the next video, I'm going to be showing you a presentation that I actually held at the Amazon headquarters in London in December of last year. It's all about bid and placement optimization, something that most people get extremely confused on. Make sure you're subscribed with your notifications turned on, and remember, you're just one product away. Bye-bye.